For decades, corporations promised Americans that if they worked hard and they stayed loyal to the job, they would retire in dignity. But the reality is, millions of Americans are seeing that this was a lie. In this video, I want to break down how retirement in America was designed for failure, what you can do about it, and a few stories that I remember from my childhood that actually led up to me wanting to do this video. It's not an accident that 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds are being forced to go back to work, that their pensions and their 401ks are being taken from them. You're going to see why experts are calling this the biggest financial betrayal in American history. I remember traveling so much as a child in the summers. We would take our car rides between Ohio and Indianapolis, Indiana, to go and see some of my dad's friends in his network because they all worked for a large corporation in the Midwest that still exists today, but I'm not going to drop the name of the company. But whenever they would talk about retirement or even like work-life balance and the things that they would have to go through in the company, there was this strange feeling in the air, almost like this oppression, like this hopelessness that they couldn't get out. And they felt like, hey, at least I'm gonna get to retire and I'll have my full pension and 401k. Prior to any of them being able to retire, my dad and a couple of his friends, they would go through a series of crazy corporate micromanagement issues. And it's not really a race thing because his friends were white Americans. This is more of a corporate oppression ingrained in America, get over on people type of an issue. One of his friends, she actually kind of had a psychosis moment on the job because of all the pressure. This was the friend that also was married to their other friend. And so they were all very close knit. But they started to see that the corporation did not care about their life or their sanity. And then when all of them went to retire, oh my goodness. The corporation fired them all on the spot because there's a clause that if they would fire them before their retirement, they did not have to give them the full settlement. Now, these people had worked at this large corporation, very successful corporation in America, super well known if I were to drop the name. These people worked for this corporation for 15 to 25 years on average. And then at the end of their tenure, they would be fired on the spot. And back then, this had to be back when I was like maybe 9 or 10, and I was hearing these stories and taking these things subconsciously, which I believe is part of the reason I am as self-reliant as I am today, because I don't trust these corporations. I don't trust the W-2. I don't trust none of that stuff. But it also made me think about what if they would have taken a different route, learned investing, became entrepreneurs, or at least had a side hustle on the side so that they could diversify. They devoted their entire lives to one job, one pension, and these companies decided they were not going to pay them back. They were not going to pay them their pension. They were going to get a little of their 401k, and it's theft. It's like a scam, isn't it? And so this isn't even a self-contained story. There are other stories about like this that I would hear even from federal workers, social workers, people in the social sciences that were working for the state government when I was growing up, because my family, they were all very much college educated on both sides. A lot of them worked for different institutions, okay? But the thing about it was that everyone had the same story. No matter what industry they were in, they would try to go to retire, then the corporation would find a loophole or a way to not give them all of their money back. And to be honest with you, a lot of these people end up dying in their middle ages, like 52, like my dad did. He passed away at 52. He had high blood pressure. He had a hemorrhagic stroke, and he devoted much of his energy and life to something that was never planning to pay him back, and quite frankly, took too much of his energy for his health to even be able to succeed in that environment. And so I'm telling you this because you may be someone that is experiencing this right now. You could have been a federal worker who is laid off. And I'm telling you this, I know it's difficult. I know it's crazy. I know it's hard. But you need to either start a side hustle, learn how to invest, or leave America. I would honestly probably do all three, to be quite honest with you, because gone are the times where you can trust a pension or a corporation. We should have never really had all of our trust in a corporation anyway. It's not a god. It's not an idol. For some people it is, but it's time to let these things subside. And you know what? I just realized I'm 4 minutes into this video and I didn't ask you to hit the like button. If this story is touching your heart, if you're like, wow, I had no idea your dad died at the age of 52 while working for that corporation, if you have heard stories like this, or you think this is interesting as someone who is watching outside of America and you're like, oh, America really is crazy, hit the like button, share this with 5 to 10 people, because I think this retirement scam needs to stop. I think everybody needs to hear about it, but these are like the little traps that are set up for you if you live in America, and you know it if you are someone that has been around for a while and dealt with different American systems. You know, my husband was talking to our clients in the Mature Adult Intensive. We're helping them to travel abroad, to get their finances together before they leave, to have the right apps on their phone, to understand AI and technology, to understand the best countries for them based on safety and good bureaucracy, okay? And so it's a 4-week intensive. All the spots are filled up. I'm so sorry. You'd have to look for an October slot at the link down below, but he was talking to them and a lot of them were sharing the same sentiments, okay? A lot of them were talking about how they were basically scammed out of their entire life. And I think it's just crazy when people, you know, turn 60 or even like 50 and they realize, oh my gosh, I've thrown my life away for this company. I want you to know that it's not too late for you. At any moment you can decide, hey, I'm gonna retire in Costa Rica. Hey, I'm gonna retire in Jamaica. I actually have an aunt that she left America way before we did. While I had to still be a teenager when she left for the Caribbean, and she did not look back. She was, again, also one of those federal workers, very high paid, very wonderful neighborhood. We were one of only 2 Black families who owned property on our entire street, which was just like an era. It was just such an interesting era growing up as a child, and that kind of like feeling of prestige and like, oh wow, we're like the only 2. It was just a really interesting time. But she left it because when you get to a certain height in America, when your family gets to, you know, what people would say that they want to accomplish with the American dream, you or your children, if not you, your children will realize this has been a scam all along. This is just getting me to pay into their system, to stay in their system, and to be broken by their system so that they can profit off of me by any means necessary. But I start to think, what if some people at, 21, when I started my business at 21, my dad passed away at 21. What if you would have started your business at that age? What if you would have started your side hustle? What if you would have moved abroad? And I want you to know it's not too late for you, okay? Because the broken promise of the American dream is exposed now. You don't have to be a part of it anymore. Think about it. They always told us, work hard, stay loyal, you'll be rewarded with stability and rest. For decades, corporations marketed retirement as a guarantee, like literally. Pension plans, company matches, retirement accounts, Social Security, all of these were supposed to ensure that loyal employees would never struggle in old age. That's what they told you. That's what they told us. But what really happened? Those promises were slowly dismantled from the inside out. Pensions vanished in favor of risky 401ks. Social Security is under pressure with rumors it may not even exist for future generations. Corporations offload responsibility from employer to employee, making workers shoulder investment risk and market crashes. What was once a promise became a gamble because America after the 1970s and 80s basically became a capitalist society on steroids. Enter the era of hyper super capitalism, as I was referring to it in a previous video. If you have not been watching the last few videos, I urge you to binge watch them, because we're going in a pattern here to break down all of the areas in which America is scamming and collapsing and having this implode on itself and its own people, and what that really looks like, especially the video I did, which is like the collapse of 4 empires. It follows a specific pattern that we can see and study today. Now I want you to listen to these numbers I found. Retirement without retiring. The numbers are so sobering. Nearly 40% of Americans aged 55 to 64 have zero retirement savings. This is scary. Among those who do, the median balance is only around $88,000, which is barely enough in America for a year or two of basic expenses. This is why we teach that I believe anybody of any age needs to leave America, but especially people that are coming up on their retirement years and they're already struggling. We already see what's happening with this administration. You can go somewhere like Costa Rica and it's close to America and you're still gonna have a better quality of life and a lower cost of living to offset some of that, to heal yourself, to get some organic fresh food, to learn a new language, to have fun. You can sit in a fisherman village and watch somebody play guitar and just enjoy your life like it was supposed to be enjoyed. And get this, the fastest growing segment of the US labor force is people over 65. Not because they want to work, but because they have to. Corporations celebrate loyalty and commitment, but for far too many Americans, retirement has been rebranded as working until you die. And this scam isn't just economic and physical, it's emotional. It's psychological. My dad's friend in Indianapolis worked 20 plus years expecting a payout that quite frankly never came. When the company restructured and pivoted, benefits disappeared. His health had already declined and he couldn't go back and start over somewhere else. This is not just one story. This is the story of millions of Americans, black, white, and everything in between. People give their most productive years, their best years, to a system that profits from their labor only to discover the latter was leaning against them all along. It breeds bitterness, regret, and a sense of betrayal, because it is betrayal. And get this is how it all works. Let's call it what it is. Corporations and financial systems engineered retirement to fail. Again, in the 1980s, most American workers had pensions, guaranteed income for life in our grandparents' or maybe your parents' generations, okay? Now, this was different than the 401k. They would have these pensions guaranteed and they would be set. Then they started to sell the illusion of growth. Wall Street promoted the idea that the average worker could invest their way to wealth, okay? Oh gosh, but market crashes in 2000, 2008, and 2020 wiped out billions in retirement savings. And number 3, they delayed the retirement age. Instead of celebrating dignity, corporations now celebrate people who are working at age 70. This is spun as dedication, when in reality, it's survival. And lastly, this is the eroded social safety net. Politicians always debate cutting or restructuring Social Security, cutting medical aid, cutting all of these different initiatives that make America kind of okay at best. And the result is Americans are expected to save for retirement individually in a system designed for them to fail. Now, I'm not against saving for retirement individually. That's what I do. But I'm doing it outside of a high cost of living so that it's actually possible to do, and learning investing, growing my businesses, doing all the things and keeping myself healthy, because if I don't have health, it doesn't matter what wealth I have or how much I save. If I'm not healthy, none of that actually matters. And the scam isn't just about retirement, okay? Get this, it's about control. If workers never achieve financial independence, then they stay dependent on corporations and the government, and a cycle of work, debt, survival ensures that very few people are ever able to escape. But I believe that you can do all things through Yahushua who strengthens you. If you are someone that sees that you have been set up in the system and you want an escape, cry out to the Most High. Cry out to Yeshua and ask him to show you and give you wisdom and understanding, teach you how to profit, lead you in the way you should go, show you what to invest in, show you what skills you should know, show you what areas you can live in outside of America, because he answers the same way he answered Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the same way he answered Daniel, the same way he answered all of the prophets and the great people in the Bible, even Hannah. He will answer you and show you, okay, my son, my daughter, this is the route that you can take to live a better life. Just ask. You have not because you ask not. Or you don't have because you ask amiss. You need to ask these things because you have to come to the conclusion that, oh, this system has gotten over on me and everyone around me, and they will continue to do it. I need to just break this cycle, cut this covenant with this system, because it is a covenant, and then come to the Most High and say, Father, I'm ready to be cleansed from the wickedness that has been perpetrated by the society. Lead me into a greener pasture. Like, great, what should I do next? Well, find countries with a lower cost of living, okay? It could be Mexico, it could be Portugal, it could be Mauritius, it could be Thailand, it could be Ghana, it could be Senegal, it could be Algeria, it could be Egypt, it could be Greece, it could be Turkey, it could be a lot of countries, it could be Slovenia, it could be literally anywhere on earth, because a lot of these countries actually have retirement residence permits for those of you from America who were able to successfully retire. For others, the solution is going to rely on building income streams early through entrepreneurship, real estate, or global investments rather than trusting a corporation. And here's my final word for you today. Don't get scammed. The biggest scam of all is the illusion that retirement is guaranteed if you just work hard. The truth is, millions of Americans worked hard. They worked very hard. They're some of the hardest working people that you can find on planet Earth, to be quite honest. They work these 40, 50, 60-hour weeks in these corporations, and they have to do all the things for their boss, all the things for the team, go to the team meeting, go to the holiday meeting, because if they don't go to the holiday Christmas meeting, then they're going to get points deducted, okay? You all work hard. You've done enough. You've done everything and still lost it all, but you can get it back. And if you're younger, start building independence now. If you're in your 40s, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 20s, build independence now. This looks like moving out of America for good. And I always say for good. My husband and I, we tell you with our chest, we tell you without lukewarmness, for good, because the continuation of the decline of America is going to impact Americans, okay? Obviously, President Donald Trump and the people that are in the White House are not going to be impacted as much because they're multi-million billionaires. The tech bros are not going to be impacted as much when the data centers extract electricity and water out of every neighborhood. They're not going to care because they live in some huge mansion that's off in California or in Oregon or wherever their huge mansions are. But the average American is going to be impacted. And I know it's frustrating. And I know you're like, but they should fix it. Come to the understanding they're not going to fix it. They're not coming to save you. They have no desire to do so. And so you need to bootstrap. You need to pick yourself up, see what you like to do, what you have a passion in, get some mentoring, get some coaching, and figure out how to freelance in the age of AI. Because the AI age is here, which is just a whole nother tangent that I can go on, but I think I'll save that for the next video. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next one. Leave your comments and your thoughts down below. If you are interested in the Mature Adult Intensive or in any of our other programs, check out the link in the description. I'll see you soon.